Welcome to The Other Side, where we take a ride each week and discuss our guests' personal journey, their hard work, sacrifice, struggles and failures, along with their passion, dedication, and determination. This is The Other Side. This week on The Other Side, we have an amazing tattoo artist. I do not have any ink on me, so I do not know a whole lot about tattoos, so I'm excited to meet him. Let's take a ride with Chuy Espinosa from Vital Lands Tattoo. Today, we are very excited to have a wonderful guest, a wonderful artist. I'm very intrigued of what he does and how he does it. But before we get to that, let me introduce the man that makes this whole thing go, our producer extraordinaire, Chris. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, welcome, gentlemen. Welcome. So I'm ready for a great discussion on tattooing today. Something that I am not personally, don't have any ink on myself, but and my son, who's now 21, almost 22, decided that's what he wanted to do, and I fought him a little bit, but he made some wise decisions, and his stuff came out really nice, and what can I say? I'm interested to see. I'm actually interested. I looked at some of your work, and I'm really interested about the discussion and your art and your artwork. So I'm excited.
It's funny because I was gonna ask you if you had any ink on you, because I don't. I know my a lot of the members of my family, have ink. Some of them have beautiful works of art. Some of them not so much. But
Right.
that's another story. At any rate, today, the man of the hour, Jesus Chuy Espinosa. You said Chuy is, nobody calls you Chuy, so we're going to call you Chuy, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
man,
thanks.
what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Thanks you for having me.
Thanks for being here, man. It's, like I said, I'm interested because even though, like, we grew up, and especially the last few years, it seems like everybody's getting ink. Like, I don't have one, so I don't know what it feels like. I don't know the whole process, so we're going to get into all that. Yeah. Somebody told me about that.
Yeah.
How does that work as a tattoo artist, especially the work you do? It's such beautiful work.
Thank you.
How come you don't have any tattoos?
Well, I mean, I love the tattoos, but I think me being an artist and being picky about the quality of the work and what I would get, I think it just kind of time went on, and here we are now, so many years later, and I haven't gotten tattooed. Now my clients, they tell me I shouldn't get tattooed, so they like it. They think it's cool because it's not so common to see a tattoo artist with no tattoos.
Yeah, the first image I think of when I think about a tattoo artist is your typical guy he's all inked up. Matter of fact, he doesn't hardly any more skin to be.
Right.
So that's why I was blown away when I found out that you didn't have any. So now that's kind of a cool thing, I would guess. People come in and. But now, how about the fact that, like, some people say, well, you don't have anything on you, or it's like a presentation card.
Yeah. Some people are standoffish, and then they see my work, and, I just try to let my work speak for itself.
Speaking of your work, let's go back. When do you remember the first time you drew something when you were a kid, or the first time somebody told you, like, man, that kid's pretty? Because usually this thing, it's not like you start at 30 and say, I want to start drawing.
Right.
Usually most people have it like within them, right? And as youngsters.
Yeah. As far as I can remember, I've been drawing. Actually, just recently I came across a picture that I drew when I was a kid of some toys that I had. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
How old do you think you were? Well, you can
Maybe-
tell probably by the toys, right?
Yeah, I probably was around 6-ish, maybe.
Wow.
Somewhere around there, 6, 7.
So you would use the toys as models?
Yeah. And what's cool is, like, I had totally forgotten about those drawings until I saw the paper that my dad gave me, and like all the memories came back of. I literally remembered laying down on the floor in the living room with my toys set up, and I was drawing them, and yeah, it's cool.
Wow, it's funny how like a taste or a piece of music or an image takes you back, right?
Yeah.
So that's your dad kept these?
Yeah, apparently they were in a box, and there's a few old like drawings of mine in there.
Wow,
Yeah,
man.
it's pretty neat. So I'm glad they didn't get thrown away.
So, and then after that, did you like? Do you remember like I don't know, elementary or doing projects or something and drawing,
Yeah,
or
I mean, I've been drawing all my life.
yeah?
Yeah.
What about like painting? Did you like? Because usually artists do like different things.
Yeah, I paint. I started to paint more often, but then as I got busier with tattooing, I just don't have time, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me take me back. Like where'd you go to school?
So as how far back?
Like I don't know. Did you? Because you're from here, right?
Yes, I'm from Chula Vista. So high school, I went to Eastlake.
Wow.
After that, I waited a couple years. Then I moved to San Francisco to go to Art University, out there for 4 years.
At a high school.
Excuse me.
Not at a high school because you took the 2 years.
I took a
but
couple-
but
yeah,
it
I
was
took a
just
couple
after
years.
high school, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I went to the Academy of Art in
Wow.
San Francisco. Yeah.
Now, how did that happen? Were you you started being interested in what did they offer? Their program? What did they offer?
No, I looked it up myself. I just figured that was a skill that I had, and I didn't want to let it go to waste. So
Wow.
yeah.
Because it's funny, man. It happens all around us with all kinds of people. Sometimes you see somebody have a skill, but they're doing the complete opposite, or for whatever reason, or they don't follow it, and it just happens all the time, everywhere.
Yeah.
So for you as a kid to say, "Hey, this is kind of what I want to do." What about your parents? What about because San Francisco, it's a long ways from Chula Vista.
Yeah, yeah. It was tough, but they would come up and visit me every once in a while. Yeah.
What was the toughest part for you?
Just being away from my girlfriend?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been with her since '94. We're married now with a beautiful son. So yeah, he's 6 years old now.
Wow, man.
Yeah,
That's
we've been together a long time. Yeah.
now and you were up there,
Yeah.
and she was down here,
Yeah.
and that's crazy. And that was the toughest part, though.
Yeah, I mean, because we were always together, so being away is, yeah.
Now, when you went to school, what was your mindset? Like, did you wanna? Because you already, if you were drawing since you were 6 years old, you're probably pretty good at it. What were you looking for, or was it just a degree, or what was the?
So I went to go get my degree, but my end goal was to work for either Disney or Pixar.
Wow.
As a kid, I always loved Disney, and that was like my dream to work for Disney. And my path went in a different direction.
So what happened? Like, first of all, what was your favorite character or movie?
Oh God. I was just fascinated by everything. Being a little kid, I remember my dad, he actually painted my whole room with murals of like the Three Little Pigs, and he had wooden
Wow.
cutouts because my dad was an amazing artist.
Really?
Yeah. With time and work and in family, he stopped doing it, but he was really, really good.
Wow, that's interesting because sometimes that's how it happens. Your parent or has that talent, like musicians. Oh, my dad used to sing, but then they weren't as good maybe, or whatever. And then you ask singers, and they're like, oh yeah, because my mom sang and my dad sang. So that's cool to know that your dad, and then the fact that he did that to paint your room.
And the thing that I think is really cool was that he was self-taught, and at the age of like, I don't know, I would say he was in his teens. He was doing artwork that there's no way I could touch right now. Like he was just so
Really?
talented, so talented. Yeah.
Now, as a parent, was he? Because you're saying so you're 6 years old and you're drawing your little figures and stuff. Was he like encouraging you? Was he like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
My son
yeah.
can draw.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did he think about your decision to go to San Francisco?
He supported it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you come out of San Francisco with that degree,
Yes.
and what was your next step? What were you thinking? Like, how come did you pursue Disney animation and all that?
I didn't. So, while I was living up north, I was also working part-time at a bank. So this is where like my path kind of went in a different direction. So I was working like I said, in a bank, and this this girl comes up to the window, and she saw that I had a drawing off to the side, a little doodle that I would do in between clients. And she liked the drawing, and we started talking about art. And she was covered from her face to her hands, everything. Like, she had like almost no room, and she was covered in tattoos.
So what year is this, more or less?
Oh, geez. I was maybe 24, 25-ish, something like that.
Because I ask you this because now there's a lot of ink out there, but a woman and like that, it was more of something that would catch your eye. Like,
yeah.
wow.
So she, like I said, she was covered in tattoos. We started talking about art. I was having an art show that day, and I told her, I was like, hey, why don't you come check out my art show? Because this is just, some little quick thing that I was doing. And she showed up, and she actually was owner of a tattoo shop. And so she recommended me to do an apprenticeship. So I started my apprenticeship, there with her. And yeah, that's where things kind of went.
So before then, you didn't even think about tattoos or tattoo world, and you never.
What's funny is I'm gonna take it back to when I was a little kid, maybe 6 years old or so. My dad's brother was heavily tattooed. He was in the gang scene, and
Right.
I remember when we'd go over to my grandmother's house, I'd go and hang out with him in his room. He'd be sitting there with needle and thread, tattooing himself, these cool little pictures.
Really?
Yeah. So ever since I was a kid, he would always tell me, one day you're going to tattoo me. And I would just be like, nah, like I didn't want to do that. Well, one, I was small,
Right.
but I just thought it was cool that he was putting like all these pictures on himself.
But he saw your talent, and he says, "Oh, yeah, he's gonna one day."
Yeah. So as time went on, he would always tell me, you're going to tattoo me. And I would always say, no, that just wasn't my thing. Like, I was always set on doing illustrations or wanted to do cartoons. So as time went on, I did my apprenticeship. I ended up moving back down to San Diego. And when that shop actually ended up closing down, and the owner gifted me like all the equipment I needed. And yeah, which was really cool. And
wow.
So I had the equipment, and I hadn't tattooed yet by this time. They gave me the equipment. I did my it was a weird thing. So I started my apprenticeship, but I didn't get to finish because for what I can't remember the reason, but they had to close down. So she gifted me all this equipment, and I ended up moving back down to San Diego. Came back home, and at this point I was living with my wife, or she was at her parents' house at the time, and they had a little room in the backyard, and I had my equipment just set in there. I wasn't using it at the time. I didn't know how to use it yet. And
you had not tattooed
yet,
even though you hang at the tattoo shop,
right? I was
and it's with the same person, right? With this woman.
Yes.
But you never.
I never got to tattoo.
So what kind of apprenticeship is that?
It's like I started my apprenticeship, and I didn't get to the point of tattooing yet. So it's because you got to go through steps. At first, I was
right
making photocopies, taking out the trash,
paying your dues. Absolutely.
Exactly. And so they had to close down before I got to the point of tattooing. So, but like I said, they gave me all that equipment, and I had the stuff at my mother-in-law's house, and one day my uncle comes over, and he saw the equipment sitting in the room, and he was like, "Hey, what's up with this?" And I was just like, "Oh, it was gifted to me, but I don't know how to use it." He's like, "Well, all these years I've been telling you, it's time you learn." So he comes over one day and he shows me how to set up the machine properly, and we just go to town, and I start fixing some of his old work that he did on himself. So when I started, I was never nervous, because what he had, I knew I couldn't do worse than that. So the tattoos took me a long time, something that, would take me probably minutes would take me an hour, but So yeah, as I would when I would tattoo him, he would tell me how deep to go. You know, he would
Wow.
like, so as I was going deeper, he'd be like, all right, don't go that deep. Like, cause he had a lot of work on him. So
Is it
Um,
is it just because he had that work that he had the knowledge, or did he do tattooing on other people as
he had
well?
he had tattooed his homeboys and,
Yeah.
girlfriends and stuff. But, yeah. So he would tell me, all right, go in a little deeper. Don't go so deep. So I would watch the needle to see how far in it's going. And I would just, would study that and just gauge it and just keep working on them. And I'd, you know, start tattooing different, areas and fixing things that he had. And then I started tattooing my brothers and my cousins. And yeah, so it was
Hey,
cool.
but talk about an apprenticeship and talk about a subject. I mean, your uncle sounds like a cool dude, man. I mean, he took you under his wing and said, look, because I mean, I was gonna ask you about that, your first tattoo, because I'm sure it's nerve wracking, but since it was him, it wasn't,
It was easy.
and,
Yeah.
and that's funny. Like he had some messed up stuff on him. So.
You can't mess up bad, right? I mean,
Right.
bad can only get, I guess, badder.
Hey, well, that's a cool story, man. But before we get back to San Diego, somebody told me that something else happened in San Francisco at the bank. That kind of make you think about like your life and
Oh yeah. So I was working as a bank teller, and it was a super busy day, and we had a takeover robbery. Yeah, and it was intense because there was, I want to say it was like about four guys that came in with guns and just it was intense. The one guy covered the front door, one guy covered the back door. There was a guy that he was telling everybody that was in line to get up, get down, do this and that, and cursing left and right. And another guy jumped the teller line and went down and just, robbing everybody's
personal
cash.
stuff.
No, just the cash out of the drawer.
Oh, okay.
This is kind of like Dead President shit.
It was
the
pretty.
movie,
It
right?
was pretty
It's like-
intense because on one of the time, well, when he got to me, because he would keep saying like, get up, get down, do this, do that. And one of the times when I got down and he said to get up, I didn't hear him, and he said some things. And when I did get up, he put the gun right to my forehead, and he was like,
Wow.
yeah. So it's crazy because that didn't bother me when I first got a little nervous or scared was when I first saw them walk in with guns and stuff. And I was just like, oh, where's this going?
Wow.
But I had been working for banking for a few years, and I know they just want to get in and out, so I just basically opened my drawer, let them take the money, and, it's not mine. The bank's insured. So,
Right.
I'm not going to try to be a hero,
They didn't like try to go for the vault, or it was a quick lick, or I mean,
It was quick, but we were so busy. Everybody was over their limit, and these guys just got away with quite a bit of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it true? Like, do they put the little dye packets and shit in there, or how does
Yeah.
that work?
When that happened, I think around that time they stopped using those die packs.
Okay.
Because I remember there had been a time where somebody stole money, and when those die packs would blow up.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess the thief that took the stuff, I guess somehow like put it in his pants and it burned him. So
Oh,
he
now
ended
Oh,
up-
he's sued.
boo hoo!
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
boo hoo!
So-
Really? Are you
so
serious?
Yep.
And then now, I got hurt because I took people's money, and now I'm gonna sue you.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
That's
And,
crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like like you said, like a Heat. Remember that
Yeah,
movie?
yeah, it was like Heat.
That-
Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you said like at first, and then was it surreal? Was it like this like really happening?
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was just kind of like, it was intense when they first walked in, and I was just like, you have that little moment where you think of like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? And you like life flashes kind of thing.
Wow.
Because you don't know what they're going to do. You see movies and
Right.
you think the worst. But once he was going down the teller line and he was just getting the money from the next person, when he came to me, yeah, he put the gun to my head. But at the same time, I was just like, keep calm. I know doesn't want to do that. He just wants the money and get out.
Right.
And it felt like it happened, like the whole situation felt like it was forever, but I think it was like just within 2 minutes and out. It was just really fast.
They didn't go for the safe then.
No.
And they were taking people's personal stuff or what?
No, they just went straight to the cash.
They knew where it was. They knew. So did you ever find out? Was it like an inside job or?
No, but I'll tell you, the way they did it, it was really good. The way where they parked their getaway car, how covered they were, and yeah, they were pros. Yeah, they did it really good.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you said those moments make you think about a lot of things in your life, and how did that affect you and your life?
Honestly, it didn't bother me.
Really?
Yeah, it was just they did what they did, and I just kind of went on. I mean, yeah, like I said, it was scary when they first walked in, but it's just one of those things that happens.
Do you think it's one of those things like I signed up for this job and it's a bank, that kind of stuff might happen?
Yeah, I'd always hear about stories where people have gotten robbed, or most of the time it's notes that they would pass. Give me the money, don't say nothing, I have a gun.
Right.
And then they leave.
That's what I was expecting. That's the story I was expecting.
Right.
Yeah.
None of this heat or dead president stuff.
That's kind of what I was thinking. So did they catch these guys eventually, or did they get away with the whole scenario?
So by the time when I left that bank, they hadn't been caught yet. So I mean, who knows?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after that, how long after that did you come back to San Diego, or did you go to work to another bank, or?
Geez, I don't remember. I know I worked there for a little while, and then yeah, we did come back to San Diego, but I don't remember exactly the time.
So, what do you remember? What made you make that decision to come back home?
I guess part of it was so I did want to go to Disney, and then I started hearing a lot of bad things about working for companies like that, because I knew some people that worked for big companies, and they were telling me about when you work for somebody like that, you lose your creativity. Like, you do what they tell you to do, and unless you're like some big higher up artist that's been there for many years, you're just basically doing like the little things, and I didn't want to do that.
Wow.
And so I ended up coming back home, and that's where I started tattooing my uncle, and I picked it up fairly quick. Like I said, I started tattooing my brothers, then my cousins, their friends, and I just started tattooing.
Did you start charging, or
how? Oh yeah, that's one thing. My uncle, kind of taught me, was like, hey, you gotta.
Because this is at the end of the day, man. Like, I always respect people's time, and people's talent, and it's not free. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that you're putting your time and effort and talent.
Yeah.
So that's good. So you started your uncle. See, man, that's a great guy. That's like one of those cool uncles.
Yeah, there's something about like the arts, like even like what we do with video and film production. It's the other side of it. There's a business there. Like, there's like the artistry, but then there's the business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
How did you take your talents and start actually making money with them? What was the decision? Like, okay, I'm good enough now. Now I'm going to start charging people. I'm going to start my own business. How did that work out for you?
Well, so yeah, I even when I came back to San Diego, I was working, in being a bank teller, and I knew that's just not what I wanted to do. And I picked up the tattooing pretty quick, and more and more people wanted to get tattooed by me. So I figured, you know what, let me just jump into this and see what happens. Yeah. and I went full time. I told my branch manager, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna try, going full time tattooing.
It's that transition where you know,
was-
like, it's a scary leap, though.
It
You
definitely
know,
was.
and how many years has it been now?
So, from when I first picked up the machine to when I opened up the shop, I think it was 3 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, so let me see. Sorry.
No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
it was about 3 years from when I opened up the shop, but I actually started tattooing. I don't know, like dude. Sorry, I got thrown off with the timing.
No,
I got thrown off with
no.
the timing. Yeah,
It's just interesting to me that, like, that transition, because you work, like you said, you were an artist, you did all this stuff, and then you got into the tattooing. But taking the tattooing from, I'm not even gonna say like a hobby. I'm gonna say from, like, taking it to the next level as a professional, and actually starting to open your own shop and having bills and overhead, and knowing that you had to cover all that and make it like that's a crazy leap.
Yeah.
You know.
So actually, what happened was, as I was working at the bank, one of the girls that worked there, she knew somebody that owned a shop, and I wanted to get into tattooing. So she was like, "Hey, I know this guy. Why don't you talk to him?" Gave me his number, and so that was the first time I started getting, like, actually tattooing in a shop.
Wow.
And I worked there for, I don't know, so many months, I can't remember, and then just things didn't work out, so I ended up going to another shop, and so I bounced around a couple places, and then from when I picked up the machine with my uncle, then it was the 3 years by the time I opened up my shop. And that part was tough because I didn't really have the clientele, and there were so many days that I was like, what did I get myself into? I was sitting, like, on the couch. Like, there were days where the door would be wide open and I'd fall asleep because there was nobody coming in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's scary, man.
Oh, super scary. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, did, like, somebody come in? Or I could have easily gotten taken for, like, my equipment. And, at the time, like, it was just...
Hey,
That's cool.
Let's backtrack a little bit. Once you get into a shop, how does that work? Do you guys do you rent a space, or do you, whatever you charge, is there a percentage for the owner, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you can do it two different ways. You can either rent a space or you can do percentage. It just depends on the owner. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said,
It's kind of like, it sounds like it's kind of like a barbershop. You know,
pretty much.
you lent
And then it just depends too, like, how long you've been there. Your percentage. You get to
Increases?
keep more. Yeah.
oh,
yeah.
just like real estate, just like all these.
Yeah.
Where you
Right,
start
right.
producing, and then it gets to a point where the owner says, "Oh, this guy's bringing a lot of money. I'll give him a bigger cut."
Yeah.
Right.
So wow, but to Chris's point, now you're talking about a business, and I mean, did you take any business courses? How does that work? Because I'm always intrigued about that. It's one thing you do your thing. You're an artist. By this time you've tattooed enough where, like, you're confident. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But like he talks about, bills, overhead.
Oh, it's scary.
And so how did that happen? And
I just, went to the city, got the licenses, got the permits, and just jumped into it. No business knowledge, but my wife, she helped me with that side of the business. And I just did the tattooing. So yeah, we just kind of teamed up, and
That's awesome.
yeah, we just kind of one step at a time and just kind of
what
learned from it.
how'd you guys find that? Location is everything.
That was actually pretty tough. So when we were looking for a shop, we were going from spot to spot trying to see if we can open up, and either the location wasn't zoned for tattooing, or the landlord didn't want a tattoo shop because, the stereotype,
People coming in and
yeah. So
that's see, all these things
I think.
zone for tattooing.
Yeah.
So that the city dictates you can do this. You
Yes.
can't. I had no idea. So you had to make sure that the zone was tattoo approved.
yeah. So I was having a really rough time trying to find a spot, and one of the guys that I knew, he was actually going to be moving from his shop, and he calls me. He was like, "Hey, Chewy, I know you're looking for a shop. You want to take this one over?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." You know, because like I said, there wasn't much for me to choose from. So I jumped into that spot, and I've been there, like 9 years or so.
This
now
is your shop
that,
right here.
that I'm currently at. Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
That's crazy. Like, I mean, it's kind of tattooing has always had this kind of what is it? Not
Misconception.
misconception.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, I'm sure at some points back in the
Yeah.
back in the day, I mean, it's always carried that kind of prestige or whatnot
stigma.
as a stigma, as a tough guy with a tattoo. But I think it's really evolved, and then I think it's evolved. It's evolved with your work. I mean, just like the stuff. I had a little opportunity last night to do a little research and look at what you're doing. It's amazing. I mean, like the detail in there for some of that stuff is crazy. You know, it's really, really, really nice work. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, no, it's like for me, there's one thing that's like cartoon tattooing, and then like what you're doing, you're taking it to a whole different level with the amount of detail that's in there.
I'm trying.
Yeah, we'll definitely have some of that up on the site and show some of your work.
So speaking of that, there's different types of tattoos, right? There's like,
definitely.
what is yours called, like realist or
Yeah, I try to do realism, like black and gray realism.
Portrait.
Yeah, you do anything from, like you said, cartoon, traditional. There's just so many different styles. Yeah.
Hey, you know, because growing up, unfortunately, one of my uncles was kind of in and out of the joint.
Yeah.
He would go to school for a couple months and come back, and he had, you know, same color ink and those type of tattoos where you knew that he'd gone to school for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's like one of my first experiences with tattoos, because at the end of the day, and he was in that whole scene, but he was tatted up with all these. It wasn't like nowadays where like people have color and they have all these things. You knew that he had gone to school for a couple months.
Yeah, right.
So, what made you decide to go like the portrait route instead of? Or I mean, I know you do it because I also saw your site, and you have a little bit of everything, whatever the client wants. But it seems like you lean more towards the portrait stuff.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, ever since I was a kid, I like drawing faces. So naturally, I think I just like tattooing and doing, seeing like the portraits, and, say people come in that they'll have, like, unfortunately people pass away, and they'll do the memorials, and, just to be able to pay respect for,
Yeah, loved one.
loved ones. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like most tattoos, especially, I mean, I guess to this day, but people, it has some type of meaning.
Oh, yeah,
Something happened in their life, somebody, a moment, and that's why they,
Yeah.
because
yeah,
it's a reminder.
Yeah, like one time we had this young lady come in, and she wanted a stack of pancakes. And
What?
yeah, exactly, right? And then you hear the story, and it's like her grandmother passed away, and whenever she would go over her grandmother's house, her grandmother would always make her pancakes. So that was her little tribute to her grandma.
Wow.
So it's cool. Like, anybody else that sees it, and you're just like, really, you're getting a stack of pancakes? But
They don't know.
yeah.
Hey, in my case, I'm gonna have some papas tattooed, because my grandma, she is the best. I know grandmas are the best, but back in the day, she's older now. But I used to bring like papas, eggs, and some tortillas. Just bring the stuff, because I lived with her for about 3 years when I was young, and she would just make these crazy, simple, down and dirty papas. And
They were the best.
The best.
Yeah.
The best, bro. So I think I'm going to tattoo some potatoes.
There you go. That might be your first ink that you get, potato.
Yeah, man. It's amazing how people connect life experiences with their tattoos. Yeah, my grandma's 97, and you were telling me about your grandma.
Yeah, she's in her 90s also.
It's cool, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
it's super cool. You just gotta appreciate everything, you know.
Absolutely. And you were telling me that she kind of like she's into the digital stuff. She FaceTimes.
Oh yeah, she'll FaceTime me and she'll be on, Facebook and
That's
doing
crazy.
all that.
That's
so
crazy. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's cool.
yeah,
That's
she's
awesome.
on point. She's on point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I got 1,000 grandma stories. I get everybody. I mean, hopefully there's some lucky people like us.
Oh, absolutely. Well, just getting back to the tattooing and the process and whatnot and what it means to people. I mean, I imagine you just get all sorts of characters, I would say,
Oh yeah, I've met all kinds of cool people. I mean,
yeah,
from from all types of walks of life. So it's a blessing to be able to meet so many cool people.
Other than the pancakes, what's the craziest request you had, do you think?
God, I did a Cheech and Chong on some guy's feet. That was kind of funny. I did Hello Kitty on some girl's armpits.
Armpit?
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of, where does it hurt the most? What people say? Because I've heard that right here on your side.
Yeah, the ribs.
Or right here.
yeah.
One of the more painful spots is the elbow. Yeah, right there hurts pretty good. The sternum, that's another painful spot.
That's
Yeah.
you gotta.
But you know what? Everybody has different pain tolerances. I've tattooed people where they just will sleep through the tattoo, basically.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tattoo them wherever, and it's like no big deal.
Before I go to my next question, I remember our friends from the Amigos Car Clubs. Those fools have spider webs right here.
That's
and
it.
I'm
That's
like,
it right
I
there.
just I remember that. I'm like, that must have hurt. But like you said, I mean, people are different. What about that? Like when people come into your shop, do you like them chatting, or do you want to just concentrate on your work, or how does that work? Because there's sometimes these pieces go for hours, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I love talking. It doesn't bother me. I'm used to the loud noise and talking, and it doesn't bother me. Yeah.
All right, since I don't know crap about tattooing, so take me through the steps. Like I show up and I see a nice, or I come with a design or whatnot, and then what happens next?
Well, so yeah, just kind of depending on the design, whether it's something that, for example, like a portrait that I just have to trace with on carbon paper.
Okay.
To make the stencil, and I'll prep your skin. Get it ready, and as far as shaving it down, wiping it with alcohol, and just prepping it, put the stencil on you, and we'll just start.
Once you do the stencil, because I've seen that, and then kind of people, that's the approval, right? You say, okay.
Yeah,
right
you
there
put it
looks-
on. You
and
just
looks, that's always gonna look.
Yeah, make sure that it's on straight. Make sure that's where they want it. Yeah, and sometimes I'll have to place it in different areas, just to make sure that that's where they're gonna wear it forever.
Right. And speaking of forever, have you ever done something where even after the stencil and but then when it's done, they say, "Oh man, it kind of doesn't look right."
Luckily, no, I haven't had that.
Because that'd be messed up.
That would be messed up. As far as the stenciling process, is that something new in the last 10, 15 years, or have tattoo artists always used that stencil process, or has it been more of a freehand kind of?
Some people do the freehand tattoos; they'll just draw directly. It's just the style of the artist, but yeah, doing the stencil, that's been going on forever. Yeah.
Okay. Did you? I know you went to art school, but did you, as far as tattoos, because like Samoans and the way they do it with that little hammer on
Yeah,
did
the
you?
hand
Do
tapping.
you? Are you did you study all that types of tattooing, or
No.
was it?
Yeah, I just did
your
the
uncle?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, but as I've worked at other shops, you learn from other artists, and you pick up little tips and tricks and stuff like that. So.
And then you said when you started, first of all, starting any venture, any small business, it's nerve wracking. And you said you didn't have the clientele. So how'd you start building that up? I know you already had your cousins and friends, and so word of mouth is key. But now you gotta come up with enough clients, enough revenue to pay for your monthly bills, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, you just got to go 100% on each tattoo you do, because, one tattoo could really mess things up for you. One bad tattoo. You don't want.
Or one good one.
Oh,
Just-
yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Have you ever had one good one that came back, like people came back and people like would tell you, oh, because this guy or you did this or
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I also have people be like, oh, I saw, this, or they see somebody out on the street that has some of my work, and they're like, oh, I saw this piece and it was really cool. And, they came to me because of it.
that
Yeah.
must have that must feel good, right?
Oh,
That,
yeah.
like, then when you
Definitely.
get somebody that walks in the door and says, hey man, I ran into this cat and I looked at your work and I told him, hey, where'd you get that? And then
Yeah.
come to you.
Yeah, because it's always cool when, say somebody refers somebody, but when somebody just sees the tattoo and they walk up to the person that's wearing it and they start talking about the work, that's pretty cool.
I mean, and I'm not surprised because your work is it's outstanding. It's
Thank you.
Unbelievable. It's pretty cool work.
It's very cool. I mean, and I think again, it's you get, when other people see your work, you're getting recognized, and it's a word of mouth kind of thing. It's kind of the same thing in our business. It's like we do our gig, but it's also a word of mouth. Like, oh, he's really good at this. You should hire him for that. So it's,
Right.
I just imagine it's kind of the same way. People, but
Yeah.
it's more of a visual. I mean, it's whenever somebody sees it, they just say, hey, yeah,
And social media helps a lot too.
yeah,
That's another
yeah.
element that it wasn't around 15,
Right.
20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that must help. Now I see you with the Padre gear.
Oh,
and-
yeah. Big
and-
Padre fan.
Yeah, San Diego, right?
Yeah.
And we were looking at your site and your work, and we saw you have a couple Major League Baseball players. How did
Yeah.
that happen?
A few years back, I tattooed somebody that knew somebody that worked with the Padres. And
But this is like office or a player.
no, it was just one of my clients. He worked with this guy, but he worked in the restaurant club scene, and so the guy he knew was a DJ, which he also DJ'd for the Padres.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so I actually tattooed him and the DJ, and when I was tattooing him, we're talking baseball, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're a Padre fan," and so yeah, he was like, "Oh, I'm actually assistant for," at the time it was our third baseman Jan Hervis Solarte.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm also his assistant." He's like, "You want to meet him?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." Like me being a big Padre fan, so. He takes me down to the field. I get to meet him, and we start just talking. And he tells him that I do tattoos, and so Solarte is like, "Oh, I'd like to get a tattoo." And so yeah, he came into the shop, and we tattooed him, and he introduced me to some of the coaches and other players, and I got to tattoo. And
Wow.
so far, every year I've tattooed somebody, so it's been a blessing. Yeah.
That's incredible. How was that moment? Like,
It was
from
insane.
your
It was
from
insane.
your uncle saying, "Hey, man, pick up the machine," to tattooing a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah. It was very surreal because at the time he was one of my favorite players on the team. So on top of that, I was just like,
You're like,
I'm
"Ah,
sitting
don't
there
mess it up."
tattooing him, and I'm like, oh shit.
I can't screw this one up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, and the cool thing was, so at the time he was actually hurt, so he wasn't playing, and that day he came in, we were actually watching the Padre game as I'm tattooing him, which it's a trip because normally they're still in
They're
the
still part of the club. They got to
they're
be
still
hanging
in
out with the club.
But for whatever reason, I can't remember why he wasn't there, so he came and got tattooed, and we're talking baseball. He's telling me, like different stuff about the game, and it was really cool. But I was still like in awe as I'm sitting there with him, and he noticed, and he was just so humble too. Like he was just like, hey, you can bullshit with me, and I'm just like you. I just have a different type of job, and he was just super cool. Yeah, we tattooed pretty late that night, and then afterwards we actually went to Denny's to go eat, which was kind of funny.
That's cool.
Because that was
but
like
you was still with him and
yeah,
you were
yeah,
hanging out?
we were hanging out, and that was pretty much like one of the only places that was open. So we went to Denny's and hung out there for a little bit. And he's a really cool dude. I still talk to him here and there.
But that whole that whole night must have been
Oh, it
crazy
was
for you.
insane. Yeah, it
Like
was
a little
insane.
kid in Disneyland.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
holy, am I doing this? And
Yeah.
then because there's one thing to you're doing your job, you tattoo, and all right, thank you very much later. But to actually go out and hang out and have
Yeah,
some,
and being a big Padre fan, I'm just like, and having my first Padre player, I was just like, wow.
wow. So, because I know you have other players, and you like you said, the beauty about your work is that that's your presentation card, right?
Yeah.
Somebody shows up, you probably showed up to the clubhouse, and somebody say, "Hey, man, I just got this," and then that it just it's like a domino effect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So who's like your biggest guy, the guy you've been
From
a
the
fan
project?
of, or just not Padres, anybody.
Fremio Reyes, I did a lot of work on him, and we became like good friends while he was here, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
You said you become friend. There's got to be a connection, right? You're
Yeah, you're sitting there for hours, and
and you're freaking your a needle's going into
yeah,
their body,
yeah,
so there's got to
you
be
build
some
a little
type
bond for sure.
Of, it's not like hey, let's go ahead, gotta have a burger and then
Yeah.
we're done.
Yeah, and then right now I'm also working with Mike Clevenger, super cool guy.
Yeah?
Cool guy, yeah.
I saw that crazy. How does that? I saw his fingernail.
Yeah, I tattooed his fingernails. That was pretty cool.
Is that like penetrating the nail?
No, it's basically like I don't know, like kind of like an engraver.
Okay.
It's just hitting the nail and it's kind of like chipping away in a sense and leaving ink in there. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Interesting. I'm what I'm fascinated with is like the whole deal of tattooing. It seems like it happens at different. Do you do like appointments late at night, or it always seems like it's like a
I used to
kind of a different deal. Like you have people coming in that have been drinking.
No, I don't do that.
It's
I was gonna ask about
yeah,
that.
because that's a problem, right? And
Yeah.
not just that it's a problem because they're obnoxious, but like they bleed more, right? When they've been drinking, or is there?
Yes and no.
Okay.
They do bleed more. It just depends on how much alcohol they had and how long you've been going. Because if you just have a couple drinks, it hasn't really gone through your system that quick to where it's like thinned out your blood. But yeah, it's more the annoyance part. And of course, depending on how much they've been drinking, once it gets to that point, you're trying to put the ink in and they're bleeding and it just makes a mess. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, you don't want that guy or girl coming back the next day and saying like, "Look, man, we fixed it? I didn't mean to do that.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, no, I've never.
I love you, mom, or whatever on the sleeve. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. Like, I'm sure a bunch of just people going through different things too. Have you ever had one? I noticed you cover up tattoos also. You like kind of fix them. Do people tell you like their stories? Do you become type of psychologist when they're there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, like bartenders, right?
Oh, absolutely. A bartenders. I mean, you've got somebody's. You're holding their attention for however long they're in your seat. So I imagine it's like you must hear some stories.
Yeah. You hear all kinds of stuff, and it's definitely entertaining. Some stuff is really sad, like I've had, like I said, the fun stuff, but when you're doing memorial pieces or, you're hearing about like, I lost my brother or I lost my son, like those are tough. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it just kind of brings, a little, I guess, closure for them, or and then having them, on by their side or whatever the case may be. But it just kind of makes me feel good that they come to me so I can put that artwork on them.
Yeah, definitely. That must be tough because at that point, I mean, you're not just a tattoo artist. You kind of like basically kind of holding their hand and
just kind of helping them through that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what because of what you said in your job. Like you said, you have fun stuff. I mean, you're tattooing Major League Baseball players, but there's also that other side. Like, what do you like the most about your job?
Just meeting all these people, being able to create, their ideas that they have, just making them happy. You know?
Just satisfies customers.
Yeah.
You know, while we're like on satisfied customers, I saw something the other day. Actually, a good friend of mine's son had it done. Had tattooing on his head. He's bald, or I think he's shaved himself bald, and he's hair challenged, I guess you would say. And then he had tattooing to make it look like he had a thin layer of hair, and it was a trip.
Yeah.
How much detail, and it looked like he what would we call it, like a 3-day shadow or whatever, and it's a legit deal, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing some of that?
No, I've never done that before.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a thing, and it's a business, and it's a pretty well paying business.
Oh yeah.
People are doing it. It's very interesting. So just get your take. I mean, it seems like
Somebody created a niche.
You would, and honestly, you could. I didn't know until he told me that it was a tattoo. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you see it from a distance.
You see it from a distance. You can't.
Yeah.
You got to be right up on them to tell that it's a tattoo.
Yeah.
Well,
literally.
I didn't know about that, but I know like for women, like kind of tattoo their.
Yeah, their makeup, their eyebrows, eyeliner. Right? Yeah, their lips.
You don't do you do anything?
No,
like that?
I don't really touch the face. No.
Really? No,
Yeah.
because that's another.
I've done it a couple times. Well, I've tried one time doing the eyebrows. I didn't like the feeling of it. I tattooed one of my friends, just a small tattoo on his cheek, a fellow tattoo artist. And I don't know, I just, the feeling of the skin, the way, I don't know, it's a different feeling than tattooing the body.
Really?
Yeah, it has like a thicker, like kind of a crunch to it when it cuts the skin. I don't know.
Who's the cat? Who's the all the kids are into now that has all the face tattoos?
The
Post Malone?
singer.
Post Malone.
Yeah.
So none of that, huh?
Well, if he came to me, I'd be like,
I'll make an exception.
We can probably make something happen. Right.
No, but it's funny you say that it's not because of whatever your thoughts, it's because of your feel. Like I don't like the way it feels.
yeah,
so
it's just if I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to do something where I'm not gonna do like 100%. But it depends on what it is too sometimes, and who it is. You know, I've had like I said, some friends that have done it, and I'll make the exception to do it for them. But just if somebody just kind of calls me and says I want to get this done, more than likely I'll.
But it goes back to the decision you made as far as an artist. That's cool that you still have that. And I mean, if you're working, for some business or corporation or whatever, hey, that's got to be done, and you just do it. But it's good that you have that choice. You can say, I don't like doing that kind of stuff, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, there's certain tattoos that I just won't do. Yeah.
Have you ever had a client come in and you say, no, you're sorry, I can't just go to another shop or something?
Yeah. Well, one time I had this gentleman come in, and he wanted. It was a really cool picture. Don't get me wrong. It was like an old, like it was a Nazi type tank, and it had like some
swastikas or something.
It had some swastikas. It was like some old historical photos, and he wanted to get that done, and I was like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want to do that type of tattoo. And he was like, well, why not? He was like, it's part of my culture and history and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, but it's like the meaning behind it. I don't want that tied to me. And he was just like, well, I'm not racist. I'm coming to you to get it done. And I was like, yeah, I get that, and like, I appreciate, like, he wants like, for me to do like some quality work on him. But at the same time, like what it means, I won't do it.
Well, I mean, I think to a certain extent, you are part of it if you do it.
You're kind of tied to it.
Yeah, and I don't want. Yeah,
I hear you. Well, that's good that you're, you have the gunness to be able to stay. No, I'm in a good position. I don't need the work. I don't want to do that. That's cool. So
what's the longest that you've taken? Because I know you've done some crazy, amazing pieces, and I know for the most part you do them in sessions, right? But what's the most you've taken, like sitting down and
actual tattoo time? The longest I've done was 11 hours.
What?
Yeah, I've done that
straight.
No, like we'll take little breaks, but I don't like to take breaks too long, like unless the client needs to eat or something, because when you stop, the skin starts to cool down, and once you go back into it, the pain is just like way worse. Yeah. So,
really?
Yeah.
Damn, but 11
Yeah,
hours.
I've done that a few times, and it's not common. Like usually around 5-6 hours, a person is kind of done. But that one was that
Jesus.
was a
So
long
you,
session.
you break it into, is it not like if you had some detailed work like that, do you outline it and then come back and do color another day? Or I mean, you break it
Yeah.
into sessions, or how does
Yeah.
that work?
Yeah, it just depends on the person. If I've tattooed them before and I know how they can sit, I'll just go to town. I'll sit as long as, for the most part, I'll sit as long as the client can. Uh, that day, I'm actually the one that just tapped out. My back was so tired from being hunched over, and
Wow.
yeah.
Now, it's a long stretch. What do you recommend that people eat before? What about drinking, staying hydrated? How does that work? 'Cause that's a lot of time.
Definitely, because you definitely want to eat before a tattoo, because your body's dealing with the pain and your blood sugar drops. And I've had multiple times where I'll tell people, hey, you got to make sure you eat, and they're like, no, I don't like eating breakfast or whatever it may be. And next thing you know, they're passing out.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What's the scenario like with that? I mean, when someone passes out, do you have to try to like wake them up and revive them, or you just keep drilling on them?
No. I'll definitely wake them up.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, as I'm tattooing them and I'm talking to them, I can see if their skin starts getting a little clammy. I can see their change in their sweat. They're starting to sweat. And
Wow.
So I'll catch it before, or I try to catch it before that happens. Get them like some candy or soda or something just to kind of like pick them up. But if they do pass out, and sometimes it just happens fast. So, they pass out, and I have like these little ammonia inhalant things. You just crack them open, so they can smell it, and it wakes them up right away.
Like the boxing smelling salts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just kind of get them like a Snickers bar or something, and then keep going.
That's a trip. Another thing that I've noticed, and is that especially the younger kids, they get one tattoo, and they can't just have one. Before you know it, even in the fight game, Canelo got one, and now he's got his own arm. He's got like a scripture in the back, and I've heard about the fact that it's almost that
Like an
pain.
addiction.
It's almost addicting pain.
I've been told it's like a therapy, that it's addicting.
You know what's funny about that statement? I've been told.
I've been told,
He
right,
doesn't have
yes.
any. He does it all the time, but he's like us. Like, well, I guess.
Yeah. So they it's kind of like their little therapy session.
Because I that's the thing I tell people is just be careful, not just because it's forever. And like I said, I'm a fan. I think when it's good work, and I appreciate it, but I always tell people be careful, because it seems like if you get one, chances are you're gonna get one or two more.
Yeah, definitely.
Where's the craziest part that you've had a tattoo? Have you had like women come in and say, "Hey, my private parts"?
I won't do those.
No, at
Nah.
all.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think if I just
What about in the your back end, your nalgas?
Yeah.
okay, for a buddy, he's doing like a whole bodysuit, so I tattooed his backside.
Bodysuit.
Yeah,
Bodysuit. Let's head ankles to head,
Yeah.
or what?
He's got from his neck all the way down to his hands, down to his ankles. Yeah.
Doesn't that just start to, after years, just start to go black? I mean, doesn't it all just bleed together?
No, his stuff still looks good.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's been a process though, for sure. It's been years that I've been working with him.
I know some old school war veterans, World War II guys. Their stuff just starts to kind of, after years and years, it just kind of bleeds together. Is that just a process from then, or is that still happening? Or I mean,
it depends, because the ink is a lot better quality nowadays compared to what they had before. The needles are better. So it's just the quality of stuff has improved a lot.
The other thing is because I heard like I said, I got cousins that have, and I've hearing sometimes say I'm gonna touch it up.
Right.
How does that work, and how often? I mean, I guess it depends on the work, but
It depends. I've done work where it heals perfectly, and I don't need to touch it up. There's times where I need to touch it up. It could be something to do with the healing process. It could be where, say, I haven't really tattooed that client before, and I'm tattooing them, and I'm not familiar with their skin or how. It depends. Yeah.
But sometimes it's like 2-3 years later, and
Yeah,
people just go to, hey, I want to just
yeah, and
touch it.
in time, things do tend to blur a little bit, and also with the sun, it kind of breaks up the
Right.
ink a little, so things do fade. And you can touch it up like that. So.
And speaking of healing, like, because you were taking us through the process, we do the stencil, and then you do the thing, and then the paint and all that. And let's say you're done. I've seen people with like plastic. What does that do?
Yeah, it just keeps, it's like a barrier. You got an open wound, so you're keeping it covered from getting like an infection. Yeah, so you're just
Like
trying
how
to keep
long?
it clean. So typically you leave it on for like 2-3 days. Not constant, but you take it off, wash it, you let it air dry, put some ointment on it, and then you wrap it up.
Yeah, I've seen people do that. They put some type of cream or something.
Yeah.
And that was just part of the healing process.
Yeah, just with stuff to to make it heal better.
So how long before, let's say you just get like a typical piece, like right here or right here, not that big, nothing too crazy. How long before you're actually just going about your life, showering, exposing it to the sun?
Well, the tattoo typically heals in about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. And then are you very like kind of strict on telling your clients, hey, do this, don't do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's crucial, right? And
yeah, because you can, not only will it can heal bad if, like, say you're exposing it to the sun while it's during the healing process or whatever it may be, but more important, you don't want to catch an infection.
Wow. Yeah. Have you ever had that, people coming back and say, hey, look, this is going on with my...
It's only happened a couple times, and it wasn't my fault. For example, one time I had a client that worked with animals, and the tattoo wasn't covered, and she got it infected because of the pet dander
exposure.
And they knew it wasn't.
It's common sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like you cover it up and keep it covered till it heals. It's like any open. It's an open wound, right? Yeah.
So, but everything I use is one-time use. It's sterile, so just use the needles one time, use the ink, and everything is just one-time use and throw it away. Everything's disposable.
It wasn't that way back in the day, though, right?
You had to
like
wash and sterilize everything.
Cats way back in the day were getting hepatitis, Hep C, because of like anything else, like needles or anything else reused. It's like crazy, but everything.
Once in a while, you'll still find some like old school tattoo artists still, doing some of that process. But like needles, I remember back in the days, they would like clean them and put them in the sterilizing machine, and that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah,
you think about it.
Yeah. So the stuff what's the advantage? Other than cost, right? To use a disposable and get rid of it versus recycling and recleaning needles. That's kind of nasty.
Definitely.
Do you still have the original? What is it called? A gun or what
machine,
do you call
tattoo machine? Yeah,
tattoo machine that from your that you used on your uncle.
I still have it. Yeah,
that's right.
No, but I'm sure, like you said, everything evolves, right? So now the machines are a little bit like faster, better.
So there's two different styles of machine. You got your traditional coil machine, and then what I like to use is a rotary machine. So it's basically, you have your motor and it's just a constant spin. Whereas like your traditional machine, you have your coils, you got to tune them. It's a little bit different. It hits a little harder.
But what's the difference between the two machines? What do they do differently, or how come people prefer one?
For example, a traditional machine, it hits a little harder. So when you're doing like bolder lines or doing solid color, it packs in the ink a little quicker, I would say. But now, like the way the machines have evolved, the newer machines kind of do pretty much the same thing. Like the machine I use, it doesn't even have a cord. It's just, it has a couple batteries you pop in, and it's cordless, so it's nice.
Wow. Tattooing anywhere.
Pretty much, yeah. You don't have to get tangled up in long cables, and you know, you don't have to worry about the foot switch or the foot pedal. So you just have a little button, click it, and just go to town.
Do you ever do work like that where you like? I'm sure like if you tattoo baseball players and stuff like that. Do they ever ask you, hey, can you come to my pad instead of me going down there?
Yeah, there's been a few times when I've gone to them. For the most part, I always tattoo at the shop just because it's easier. I have all my equipment
everything
set
there.
up. I got, you know, it's bright in there. There's been times where I've gone to like hotel rooms or their house
Holy crap.
and it's, you know, the lighting isn't the best or whatever it may be, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Right. Yeah, because I would imagine some of these players, are, you know, they don't want to. It's just one of those things. And not that they're. I mean, they don't want to attract like fans or while they're getting.
They just want to do their thing and not be discovered, you know, like any other day. What about I'm fascinated with the cover up. Like, so there's a lot of people out there that have got maybe a bad tattoo or a tattoo that doesn't mean the same thing to them once they got it. I mean, do you do tattoo removal or
No,
you do just do
I just
cover
do the
up?
cover ups, yeah.
What's before we get to the cover up? What's the process of the removal? What's that like? Do you know anything about that?
Just know you got to do like multiple sessions of laser removal. Yeah, and I hear it's like way more painful than a tattoo, and it's way more expensive.
Gotcha. So you in the cover up process, what does that usually look like for you? Do you just like look at their art and say, "Well, I could do this," or do they have an idea of how they want to do it or cover it up, or how's that work?
A little bit of both. You know, sometimes they'll come with an idea of what they want covered, and the tattoo is maybe just way too dark, or what they want is impossible. So I'll tell them either, yeah, you do have to do some laser removal to get it light enough to where I can cover it, or just a different design, or if that tattoo that they want, if they're stuck on it, like put it somewhere else on their body. But for the most part, I've been able to cover up a lot of interesting stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes multiple sessions of, you know, doing the cover up to be able to like not see what's underneath.
Right.
But yeah, I've done some crazy cover ups that I'm even like, should I do it? Yeah, let's give it a try.
Hey, because I'm sure there's people that walk in and say, "Hey, man, can you cover this up?" And because it was one night that I was drunk and I only had like $50, and
Yeah.
so it's all jacked up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've had to cover quite a few of those. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's it. Now, I was gonna ask you about who would you like to tattoo? Like you said, you're a big baseball fan, and I know like Machado has a bunch of ink.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And would you stick with Padres or do you? Because I also saw like a Cleveland Indian player at one time.
So I've gone the last couple years out to Arizona for spring training, and I've tattooed a few guys from the Indians. Yeah.
Wow. So how did that? Who invited you to go over there? And I'm sure like once you're there and people start hearing, we got a cool artist.
Yeah, because I've tattooed. Logan Allen was on our team, and same thing with Franmil Reyes, and they actually got traded to the Indians. So then I went out there and I tattooed them, and then I tattooed their buddies.
But how does that work? Like who calls you? Who says, "Hey, come to Arizona"?
Some of these guys I still keep in touch with. So yeah, sometimes they'll call me, or I'll be like, "Hey, I'm going out there. Do you guys want anything?" Or yeah, it's just both ways.
That's a good angle to work, man. I mean, like, obviously your work speaks for itself, but and these players get traveled from one team to another, and people they see your work. How are you promoting yourself right now? And you know, how do you get the other than just the visual and word of mouth? How else are you promoting yourself and your business?
Mainly social media, like Instagram and Facebook, but mostly Instagram now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has a success. I mean,
yeah. It's just so easy to get your work out there that way.
Yeah. I had another question for you. As far as like your idols in the tattoo world, is there anybody that you would point to and say, I really respect this guy's work? This is, you know, something on par. Is there anybody else out there? Does it work like that for you guys as tattoo artists? Do you guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing talent out there. Like Nico Hurtado's just one of the top dogs out there. There's just tons of guys for sure.
I was watching some documentary the other day, and I think it was about Clown. This guy Clown.
Okay.
And
Oh yeah. The guys in LA, they were in the
Mr.
music scene?
Cartoon.
Mr. Cartoon.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Because there is a
Thank
tattoo
you.
artist by the name of Clown too.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really good.
So I don't want to get him confused. I apologize.
Yeah, I saw that too. That was really interesting. They were that guy was tattooing Eminem, and
Yeah.
wow, like on not necessarily on tour, but they were coming to them. One of them
Yeah, I
was
didn't get to
shooting.
see that show. I didn't get to see that
documentary?
One, but yeah.
You should check it out.
You should check it out. It's kind of cool because it's about them. One of them is basically tattooing, and the other one is just documenting stuff. And back in
He's
the
a
day, it was just
photographer.
and videographer.
Yeah.
It's actually it was cool. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of idols in your world, who was your idols with the Padres?
Tony Gwynn.
My man.
Yeah.
My man, Tony Gwynn. I had the honor and pleasure of meeting him and working with him because with the Padres, and he was a really, really good dude. I was really sad when he passed away.
Oh yeah, same here.
Yeah, did you ever get to meet him?
Yeah, as a kid, I got to meet him multiple times at baseball card conventions, and then I would go to when I was a little older, I'd go to see him at the Ford dealership, because he would sign over there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he had a contract with them. Yeah, he was a really nice guy.
And he was I can attest to that. He would always have a smile, and he would always make time for his fans. Like it didn't matter if you were a kid or an older gentleman. He would always take the time for a picture. Such a class act, man. That guy, he was the real deal.
Yeah. How you're saying that he would sign everything. I remember one time I had a bag because I was big into collecting his stuff. And
Wow.
I had a bag full of like cards and baseballs and stuff. And I asked him if I can get his autograph. And he was like, yeah. And then, so he grabs the bag to see what I had. And he just started signing everything. He goes, do you want me to sign? What do you want me to sign? And I was like, oh, like whatever. Like I was, excited that I
One
was going to
signature, right?
Yeah. And he just signed everything that I had.
Wow, you
That's
got
awesome.
you got a treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's
gotta-
awesome.
It's funny. Like I mean, not everybody's a baseball fan, but like what that guy did in his career, it's unbelievable. If you look at some of the crazy stats, just anybody's out there, just look up the strikeout stats on that cat.
Oh yeah, so low.
Now what he would take him 2 years to strike out so many times. Now it takes a guy like a month. Nowadays, it's he was but more than anything, he was such a gentleman.
Class act.
very-
Class act. Yeah, for sure.
He was a great guy, and I'm glad you got to meet him. And man, you're sitting on a treasure right there.
Well, let's wrap it up with talking about your business and what we can do to get the word out for you. Vital Lines, is that correct? Is that the name of the company?
Yeah, it's Vital Lines Tattoo. I'm in Ocean Beach on Sunset Cliffs Boulevard.
Here in lovely San Diego, California. So
Yes, sir.
if you visit your way down to San Diego and you want to get a quality tattoo, you got to go to Vital Lines. Vital Lines. Again, I looked at your stuff last night, and I was blown away just from the artistry standpoint. And Carlos, I think you had the same reaction.
Yeah, it's incredible. Really, really beautiful work. Before we let you go, what's your Instagram?
It's Chuy. Sorry, it's Chuy Espinosa Tattoos.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that I post it. And listen, man, it's been a blast. Thank you for educating
you.
us. It's and taking you through a little bit of your life and how you got here. And I'm ecstatic to have you here, man. Thank you for doing this.
Thank
I
you.
really
The
appreciate
pleasure
it.
is mine.
Thank you very
guys.
much for being here. For more information about Vital Lines, visit our website and the other side. And we'll be posting some of his artwork up there and send you direct links to his website. For now, thank you for joining us at BLDG Studios in San Diego. You guys have a great day. We look forward to talking to you and having you on the show maybe in the future as well as things progress. But yeah, we thank you for everything. Everybody out there, peace out.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right, thanks.
Chuy Espinoza is an incredible tattoo artist. Make sure to follow him and check out his work. Please download our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at The Other Side Presents, and visit our website at www.theothersidepresents.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on The Other Side.